Hey everybody, Brandon here, Mr. B's Fishing Things. Last time we were here, I gave you guys a really quick around the room tour of my fish room. Some of you mentioned you'd like to see a little bit more of what was going on in here, which is great because that's exactly what my intentions were. In fact, today, let's take a look at this tank right here. So some of you will recognize this tank. This is the tank that we used to call a retro tank. And it's still kind of being called a retro tank, even though it's not quite the same thing that it used to be. We put a background on it that's of a map that happened to fit quite well. I did a little trimming and it fit there, and I thought it made a nice unique background. It's a Metaframe tank or a chrome tank, and on it I have a Metaframe light or chrome light. Inside of that light I've got a couple of LED bulbs, which are kind of washing out on us right now. Sorry about that. So we did some videos on this tank before, and if you remember, I had a couple of bubbling toys and stuff in here. We had some very typical aquarium fish that you would normally keep. I had done that for quite a while and had a lot of fun with it, but it kind of ran its course for me, so I wanted to do something else. We had an old heater, we had an old air pump on it, an old style. And it was a fun tank. So here's what we've done to it since. I recently got a new Eheim canister for it, and I've done a few videos on those and how much I like them. Go back and look if you're interested in Eheim canister filters. I really do recommend them. This one is a 250. Down here on the bottom shelf is just some books and stuff that I keep, and a mug that was given to me from my local club. We put a new Eheim heater on it, and you'll notice something I do with all of my heaters. I run them all at a slight angle like this, and I keep the top basically poking out of the water. I do that for a couple of reasons. These particular heaters are rated as such that they will shut themselves off if they get too high. They're thermally regulated. But if you look closely at all of these heaters, you will see that they have a water line. And when you get the pamphlet with them and they come in a box, they tell you that this is the minimum and maximum water line, meaning that while they are submersible, I believe they are kind of better to keep just out of the water, and I can reach up there and adjust it as need be that way. I've got a spray bar on the back of it, hooked up to this Eheim canister, and as always, I'm a big believer in intake sponges. We have some plants going on. Small piece of wood. Picked up a few new plants recently that I had in quarantine, and then I just recently dropped in here. Got to get them planted. The substrate is a natural gravel. It's a natural river gravel that's sourced locally. Keep that in most of my tanks. As for the fish, these are zebra danios that we have floating around the top, being used more or less as a dither fish. There are a couple of small plecos in here, little bristle nose. Don't know if we can spot one or not, but I think, there we go, there's a nose of one, like it sit behind this bowl. And I'm not sure if you guys can see it, but over here flopping around on this piece of wood, there's another. There it is. This kind of, by the way, is the view from my chair, where I sit right beside this tank. Interestingly enough, right now, you get to watch this little guy playing around on a bowl here. In the background, over there, another little pleco just jumped in behind the heater. Fun tank and a different perspective right here. And the only other occupant of this tank is inside of that bowl, and unfortunately he probably won't make an appearance for us. You have seen him before in a few of my videos if you look closely, and what he is a Chanagachua snakehead. That's a dwarf snakehead, and we've nicknamed him Grumpy. I'll see if I can add a picture in here of what he looks like. And that's his bowl. He's a little bit of a shy fish. They have a bit of a bad reputation as being a fish that, you know, is some kind of meat eater and killer fish and all that sort of stuff. And while they are a meat eater, in fact, we'll get to the food that I feed them here in just a moment, they aren't really the horrible fish that a lot of people like to make them out to be. And here where I live, in eastern Canada, they're not considered an invasive species, and we're allowed to have a lot of fish that people can't have just everywhere in the world. Mostly because it's impossible for them to survive in the wild in our cold atmosphere in the winter times. So now back to the food I was discussing. This is a little bit of everyday flake food. Got an algae wafer here that I'm going to drop in, but I don't drop that in until nighttime for the plecos. And then here, a few pieces of krill. And I don't feed them very much, 2, maybe 3 pieces a day. I drop them in just dry like this. The Daniels might pick a little bit of it off, but really it's too big for them to eat anyway. So as they get saturated, Grumpy will come up and eat them. What do you think? Let's drop the flakes in. Watch our little Daniel fish eat away. They're active eaters at all times. The tank is roughly 40 gallons. We've measured it up. And it was a tank that I rebuilt and have enjoyed having here. It fit well in this space in my room. We'll drop a piece of krill in here for Grumpy, but truth be told, I think the Daniels will beat it around a little bit, and I don't really think he's going to come out to eat it right now. He's a little shy, seriously. So that's a look at what we've done with the retro tank and what it looks like nowadays. Alright, stay tuned and we'll go around the room and show you the rest of the tanks. Thanks for watching.